Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Living Astrology with Janet. It's time to grab your cup of coffee or your tea and sit back and relax while we chat about what is happening up in the sky above us for this week ahead. It's actually not such a bad week. I hope that things will settle down a little bit here where I live, as um, it's been outrageous around here. I mean, today, my husband was able to make it to work for the first time since last Monday, as roads were closed, rain pouring down, rivers flooding, creeks flooding. The National Guard is still out there. He had to be detoured along the way to work this morning, as one of the main highways is still closed. And one of the railways has been completely undermined by water, and the rails are just hanging there. So I think they were trying to work on that and fix that. And here we are today in the throes of another heavy duty wind and rainstorm, already having taken some trees down on the highway that my husband needs to take to get to town. And, you know, it's crazy. And it's crazy to see the pictures of the devastation and the changes that have gone on now in people's lives. Simply by virtue of being in a valley, a river valley that is unfortunately prone to flooding. And then to add insult to injury, this morning at 7:06 a.m., we had a minor earthquake that I didn't necessarily feel as an earthquake. I just told my daughter I felt loopy all of a sudden, like something had, rocked my world. And yet I didn't feel shaking on the ground. So I wouldn't have, equated it with an earthquake, but it was just centered, 10 miles up that way from me. And that was kind of shocking. It was minor. I have to say minor. I think it was a 3.1. And, it's Neptune at 29 degrees. What else can I say anymore? It's like our planet is reverberating with this energy of water. And I saw that the Midwest was so very cold. And yesterday, one of the football games, it was 8 degrees with a wind chill of -1. I was like, yeah. I mean, I don't even know how you get out there and play a game in those kinds of frigid temperatures. So I feel kind of lucky temperature-wise. We've been kind of mild, but later this week, perhaps it's going to cool down. That will raise the snow levels or lower the snow levels, pardon me, and we should start to get into the clear. But these one storms after another is kind of crazy. I actually was looking at it on my weather app. I don't know if I can do this and show you guys what's happening here. But this is, you can see that blue dot on here. That blinking dot is where I live. And all of that green is rain, more flooding possible. But this could bring some more flooding concerns to the valley. Hopefully not. We are rised up high enough that it's not so much flooding for us. It's the impact of all the flooding around us that gets us down. But hopefully we're all going to be safe. And if the electricity goes out because of the wind, and if I disappear, you'll know why. Because I can hear it raging out here as well. But as we look ahead at the week, astrologically, today, the Mars planet of action, the warrior planet, moves out of Sagittarius, fire, and into Earth, Capricorn. How interesting that an earthquake occurs right then, right? Not a big one, thankfully, but one happens right at that point in time. And just to me, that's so fascinating, right? Fascinating earthquakes, fires, or not fires, floods, and wind now. So we're in an air age. There's the wind. Neptune at 29 degrees in a water sign. There's our water. And Mars moving into Capricorn. Here come the Earth impacts. And this week, the cosmos is asking us a very pointed question, one that I feel so deeply within me. And it's asking whether our actions are rooted in integrity, or is it borrowed authority? Are we doing things that are somebody else's ideas of what we should do? And or are we, just doing things, for other reasons that don't really relate to who we are, who we want to be, where we want to go, and all of that. And we have, these three threads that are, moving together here this week. One is Mars entering Capricorn. Capricorn is a sign that's ruled by Saturn. Saturn, the planet of discipline and responsibility and order, and is now functioning without boundaries, basically, in the sign of Pisces by transit. And so we have the ruler of the sign of structure and form in a sign of boundlessness and boundarylessness. So it's really kind of interesting. And then Mars, as he moves into Capricorn, and you guys might be surprised by this because I'm sort of surprised by this, that the movement of any planet into Capricorn through the last degrees of Sag and into Capricorn sit at the gate 10 in our human design, which is on the identity center, which is called the gate of self-love. So it's an interesting thing, right? Don't you think that part of the movement from fire to earth is anchored in the energy of self-love, right? So it almost says that our very foundation, our very framework has to be self-love. And the sun in Sagittarius squares Saturn in Pisces. I mean, that's been happening, right? And then goes on this week to square the planet, then we will square Neptune. So we have, these crazy things that are going on with planetary energy. And all three are pressing us on the same theme, right? The same theme is running through these things. And it says, what gives us the right to act, to lead, to decide, and or direct energy? And where is that authority truly coming from? Have you usurped that authority from someone around you, as is the case in some of our leaders who just keep usurping power, taking power on that is not theirs to take? And or is it something where your power has been usurped, by things going on in your world, or by people that are around you? And have you been asking yourself the question, what's the real true me? Like, where am I in all of this? So as Mars enters Capricorn, we have action with consequences, because he's now in Saturn's territory. Saturn rules the consequences, right? We all have free will. We all have choices that we make in our lives. And the cost, if you will, of free will are consequences, right? So you can go out and do any number of things and be any number of things in the world, but there are consequences. And Mars, as a planet of action and motivation and desire and conflict and confrontation, and how we assert ourselves in the world, can create this force of energy that causes us to act without integrity, or calls us to act within integrity. And what does that mean for each one of us? So when Mars moves into Capricorn, it sobers things up. It makes the energy feel a little more serious. Not that it hasn't been serious already with the things that are going on around the world, but here we go into a sign that's very purposeful and very determined. It's a sign that is not acting impulsively. So Mars bound up, if you will, in an energy that slows him down. And Capricorn is not reactive energy, and it's not interested in proving anything quickly. It's strategic. It's a planner. And Capricorn asks this one question that we don't often ask: is this action, is this thing that I'm doing sustainable? Is it sustainable? And is this responsible? Is this the right use of my time, of my energy, of my resources? Is this the right thing for Gaia, our planet? And does this action that we're about to take hold up over time? Because that is Saturn's realm as well. Time, right? Saturn as the ruler of Capricorn, where Mars is moving into Capricorn, bringing those themes together. And Mars in Capricorn is often described as exalted, uh, because he's in his detriment in Cancer across the place, across the ocean there. But in Capricorn, his energy gets strategic. His energy gets more momentum for taking planned action. The goals become more clear and we can take more decisive action. But Mars in Capricorn is action with consequences. So when we do something, there is always going to be the consequence, right? And you don't get to act without accountability under a Mars in Capricorn kind of transit. And it's also a very militaristic, strategizing kind of energy. So, in the outer world, we may see, more military action taking place. And of course, those actions, if they are not linked with integrity, can really be causing somewhat of a rebound back at the perpetrator of the action. So, effort matters, integrity matters, and follow through actually matters as well during this period of transit. And the shadow energy in Mars in Capricorn is false authority, right? Taking on authority that you don't have, whether it's personal or whether it's governmental or community or tribe or somewhat on the world stage. It's false authority. And it can be power based on title instead of wisdom, right? You could be elected president all you want, but if you haven't the wisdom to carry out the deeds, then you're lacking integrity, right? And you will miss the mark and you will be called to task on those things. It's control without care, right? Not caring that you are taking away things from people or that you are about to create chaos in the mass extreme. And it can also be ambition without soul, right? Ambition to climb the corporate ladder. I liken this to the shareholders of a corporation. And now, not to say that all corporations are held by shareholders who have no feelings or are apathetic to, or even uncaring to the plight of normal people. But there are a lot of corporations out there who are only in it for the money. And that's ambition without soul. They raise prices because they don't care, right? They don't care. They get their $1 million bumps every month or every quarter. So this is a transit, Mars in Capricorn, that exposes who is truly willing to carry responsibility and who only wants the appearance of power, who's just standing on false ground, right? That's about to cave in, right? Standing on the hillside, that's about to landslide, right? So interesting that the base then of this energy comes to self-love, right? And that's in our human design. So everybody has a gate 10, and gate 10 for everybody is about self-love. Whether it's defined or not in your human design is the real question, right? If it's defined, then the planet that sits at that gate rules how it is that you see yourself and love yourself. And how that was a big wind gust. I felt that one. And if you have it open in your chart, then suddenly Mars coming in and sitting at this particular gate, soon to be followed by the sun, by the way, as we're entering the winter solstice on Sunday. So the sun will then come to roost in the same part of your chart. That self-love, not the ego, becomes the real ruler of the day, of the energy. So it's about the right relationship with self. What is the right relationship that you have with yourself? It's not about self-improvement. It's not about self-esteem. And it's not about ego. It's really just about the question of, are your actions aligned with who you truly are? Or are you playing a role for somebody else's play or in somebody else's movie, right? And Mars here might be ready to expose certain things like self-betrayal. Where have you given yourself away? Where have you not been your own best friend? It might expose where you're living according to expectations. That has landed on me quite literally over the last several weeks as I'm contemplating, a new direction or what comes next. It's a big question for me. Of course, I'm under a lot of Saturn transits right now, so it makes sense now why that question keeps coming up. And, the other thing that can get exposed is where you're performing roles that aren't authentic, that aren't truly for you. And where are you following rules that are costing you your integrity? What are you being loyal to inappropriately, right? Who are you being loyal to inappropriately? Because this is where false authority can become deeply personal, and where false authority says, here, think of these kinds of phrases. These are the phrases that would tell you you're aligning with false authority. I should do this. I should do this. If there's a should in there, it's not quite in integrity. This is expected of me. Again, false authority. Whose expectations? This is what a good leader, person, parent, or professional person does. Those are kind of false authority. But true authority has a different set of phrases. True authority, especially when we're talking gate 10, self-love, says, this is who I am. And then it says, this action is congruent with my values, right? I'm doing what feels good to me. I'm walking my talk and talking my walk. I can live with myself if I choose this. And Mars in gate 10 gives us courage, but only if we're willing to be honest. If you're not willing to be honest, then the courage turns to false authority, right? It becomes actions that are taken based on some other false premise, perhaps. Now, if we look at the gene key 10, we're moving from self-obsession to being. And I love this one because if we widen that lens through the gene keys, we get to see the frequency through which we're moving the energy, especially the energy of Mars's initial entry into the sign of Capricorn. And the shadow of gate 10 is self-obsession. And it moves to the gift. I hear sirens. Sirens. I'm not sure what they are. It moves to the gift of naturalness and eventually lands us in the siddhi, the highest energy of being. And the shadow isn't vanity. So this isn't this isn't like looking in the mirror and telling yourself how beautiful you are. That's not it at all. It's a preoccupation with how you're seen, how you're measured, how you're judged or approved of. And this is where false authority thrives, right? It's when our identity is outsourced to someone else, where our power then follows that outsourcing of our energy to somewhere else, to someone else. The gift of naturalness in the gene key here is when actions flow from authenticity rather than performance, right? Where we're really, truly giving from the heart, let's say. And when we hit the siddhi of being, think about that as a verb, being. Think of that as an adjective, a description of who you are. Think of that as a noun, being. This is profound because at this frequency, action is no longer forced. You're just naturally who you are in that moment. Authority isn't claimed, it's recognized. It's just there. It's profound, right? Mars moving through this gene key says you don't need to prove who you are, but you do need to live who you are. You do need to live your truth. You do need to be the truth of who you are and then take actions accordingly. All right? Mars and Capricorn. Now, let me say good morning to people and then we'll come back and go into the next part here this morning. Good morning, Patty. Getting shaken with our earthquakes 25 minutes ago and it's still flooded there. Indeed. Joan says, stay safe, everyone. The world feels unsafe right now. That it does. And I think that has a profound impact on us when we have a planet like Mars in Capricorn that really crystallizes something that's true about us, that instability in the earth or instability in our outer world can be very destabilizing and can feel very difficult. Jackie, good morning. And Patty, thank you, Joan. It's so weird here. Terry Lee Strauss, good morning to you and love you too. Christine Buckingham, yikes, good luck. Wishing you and your family safety and dry skies. I swear it's got to be coming sometime. Alonda, good morning. I've been thinking about you over there. Field Road was closed. I was wondering if that's because it was flooded. Earthquake in concrete, crazy indeed. Christine says, good morning. Those colors look, oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's my favorite. When I'm feeling down, and I've been down, pink makes me feel good again, right? Or at least feels like I can pretend for a moment that everything is fine. Teddy, looks like you're not trapped anymore. Thank you, Chainsaw Crew, right? There was a tree down this morning across the South Skagit, but the National Guard was actually transiting Terry off the road because Highway 20, the main thoroughfare for him to get to work, is out of order. But things are getting better. Jacqueline, yes, that is my core in line 5. So the leadership kind of savior role there. Interesting. Jackie says, funny because I think of everyone else than me. You know, that is a real issue, isn't it? And I want to say that Chiron and Eris, both having been moving in Aries, the sign of the soul, of the self, right? The self's soul, has really been like mixing that up for a while, for the last 5 or 6 years, really. And continues, on into 2026, and then shifts into Taurus energy. But just as those two, well, Eris isn't going to shift into Taurus anytime soon. She takes 500 years to go through a sign, so she's not going anywhere fast. But Chiron will. And then we'll have Neptune and Saturn both in Aries. So there's something to be said about really learning about the truth of who you are, about really being your true, sovereign, self-assured self, being you, right? We could write a book on being you because that seems to be something that all of us are working through. How do I be myself in the midst of all of this stuff, right? And we see a lot of people that are, being loyal to others that they haven't even questioned. What are we doing? Why are we doing this? Why are we being loyal to this person or to this faction or this thing or this program? And so there's a lot of shaking going on in that, right? That really causes us to take a look at where it is that we've been taking care of everyone else and everything else, being things to others that we haven't been for ourselves. So it's our opportunity to course correct that, Jacqueline. Tina Wildnauer, good morning. Good to have you with us. Terry Strauss, oh, the things that Mother Earth is showing us. No kidding. In fact, I was going to call you this morning, Terry, because I almost felt like I had lost an edge somewhere and I needed, help. I thought maybe you and I could have a channeling session together for a few minutes, but somehow I got persuaded to do something else. Christine, natal Mars in Capricorn, 24 degrees in the 9th house. So there you go. You're already familiar with being in integrity, especially when it comes to beliefs and spiritual matters, being true to your authentic self. Mars here for you would be you anticipating a Mars return. That won't come probably for about another 4 or 5 weeks, but a Mars return nonetheless. So you might be feeling your energy waning and getting maybe more tired or needing more rest. And then that will be followed by this bump up as Mars moves across your natal Mars and starts a new 2-year cycle of energy for you, Christine. Good morning, Jacqueline Tyler. Hi to everybody. My birthday was yesterday. Oh my gosh, happy birthday, Jacqueline. Thank you for being here with us today, and I hope you had a wonderful birthday. Patty says, wow, I can hear the wind outside of the living. Yes, because we have this cover over the top because remember we had a leak. So we have this cover and those straps are, pulling down the cover. They're holding it to the, underside of the RV. And they'll sing, literally they sing in the wind. So sometimes I'm hearing woo, other times I'm hearing them slapping up against the side. But I have to assure you I'm safe and warm and dry. So the wind is blowing, it's howling. I don't know what the alarm was that I heard. I think it was probably maybe a fire call. I don't know. But anyway, and Christine, so open identity and no defined gates. This is happening now for how long? Mars will be is that what you're talking about? Mars in the gate of 10? Because Mars, oops, wrong ephemeris. That's next year's ephemeris. Mars will be in gate 10 for all of us until the 19th of this month. So Friday. And then he moves from there. This is even funnier, right? The whole study of Capricorn to me, we should undertake, right? I think there's something profound for us to learn under that. Oh, hold on, guys. Because, when we're looking at the transit of the sun or any planet through Capricorn, it hits self-love first. The next gate it hits is joy or joyfulness. And in joyfulness, what do we get, right? I mean, it tells us that our life needs to be based in joy. I'm sorry, my granddaughter just left for work and she is, okay, she made it to work. Good. Oh, good. So we have, out of self-love comes this energy of joy. And it's the joy in mastering oneself, mastering your life, being the mistress or master of your own self, of your own direction forward. So he'll be in the gate of joy for all the way through Christmas. And by the way, the sun enters the gate of joy as well at Christmas time, usually the day after Christmas or on Christmas this year. So on Christmas, Mars and the sun will both be in the gate 58, reminding us that it's all about love. It's all about joy in the season. So while some of this energy is kind of difficult or seems, quite strident, it reminds us to realign ourselves with joy, right? First, you align yourself with self-love, and then that which makes you joyful, right? Then you are aligned, and then we move into struggle, right? Right after joy comes struggle, the gate 38, and this becomes the energy then of continuing the fight for what is right for you. And the struggle is all about sticking with what works for you, what you love, what's right, what out of the joy, what was left, right? What was left that made you joyful, and the fight to stick with that energy. And then, of course, we move on into the calendar new year and beginning the dream time. That's a big one, and it's a sustained one. Okay, no crashes, no burn-up. Oh, stress. Okay, anyway, so open identity and no defined gates. Back to Christine's question. If you have an open identity center, you are not always knowing who you really truly are, right? Your direction is sometimes lost on you. Your identity is really driven by the people and circumstances that surround you. So when you're around people that make you feel good, then you're with the right people. If you are doing something that makes you feel happy, then you're doing the right thing. And you're not designed to always be doing the same thing, right? Sometimes you're moving from thing to thing, and it can make you feel a little bit odd, like you're not quite with it, or you're being, kind of flaky, but you're really not, because you're kind of, in a way, picturing to other people what's true, what's healthy, what's false for them. When you have an open center that becomes defined, and I'm not sure that yours becomes defined, Christine, but if anybody out there becomes defined, let's say because the gate 10 makes it up to the gate 20, it makes it to the 34, and it makes it to the 57. So there are 3 outlets that the gate 10, Mars, and then eventually the sun can lead to. Then different energies become available. And for example, the 10 to the 20 is called the Buddha channel, right? So then you become very wise, perhaps, and very willing to share your knowledge. But it is also in the shadow energy a gate where we can become the verbal gunslinger, or where others are slinging that outward at you. So there's the highs and the lows. So the energy different based on your own personal human design. And Jacqueline, yes, I just had my Chiron return and have Jupiter in Aries also. I get a big boost of the things beforehand. I think there are a lot of us out there who are doing light work, or who are anchoring the light work in on the planet, that experience things a little beforehand, a little before the masses do. Like, for example, I have Jupiter in Aquarius in my natal chart, and that's futuristic in some ways. So I feel like sometimes I'm getting the glimpse into what's happening with people because I have it happening to me. And then I start to see it in my clients, which is so fascinating. I've seen that over and over again. So I'm thinking that's what you're talking about too, Jacqueline. Jacqueline Tyler, I did not know that there was an earthquake where it was in the town about 10 miles up from me. It was not a bad one. I had this disconcerting feeling. I didn't feel the shaking. I just felt like loopy. I told my daughter I felt loopy, like, wow, something just, rocked my world. I didn't realize that it was an earthquake. Jacqueline, I call the things happening nowadays with birthing pains for Mama Gaia. Is she trying to throw us off the planet? Or is she trying to shake us awake and make us look at what we're doing and how we're treating her, and how we're, that is a reflection of how we're treating ourselves. So interesting to hear that. Thank you, Terry. I appreciate that. And you're welcome, Christine. Happy birthday, she says to you. Paulette Peasley, good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. I hope you're well. Joan, I have Mars at unconscious line, or gate 10 in the 4th line. So in the what she's speaking about is there are always the 2 columns of numbers in human design. The black column, or the one on the far right, is the soul urge, or your soul reason, your soul's reason for being here, soul purpose even. We call it the personality column. The other side is called the design column, and it's based on a date approximately 3 months before you were born. We used to say this a lot, and I haven't heard it very often recently, but we say that's when your soul came into the body. And the design then, or that particular energy, kind of defines the life purpose. So on one side, you have the soul's purpose. On the other side, you have your life purpose. So if you have a soul purpose of, I'm not sure what your soul purpose is, Jacqueline. So how am I going to do this? You have, Joan Durkee. Joan, what is your conscious Mars at? If you can look that up real quickly, because whatever your conscious Mars is playing out in this lifetime through the unconscious Mars. So you are, whatever your soul's intention and purpose was for being here is going to play out through helping others, because you have it in the line 4, helping others reestablish self-love, or to come back to their true self. And I think some of the work that you are doing is kind of, how you will do that, right? Restoring that for people. And good morning, Christine Whitner. And let's see, this world needs more joy, Christine says. And Teddy says, hey, was watching last week's that clicked in live. I don't know what that means. Yes, I'm okay, Jackie. And I don't have 57, only when in transit. I have the others. Funny thing, 34 and 20 are my nodes. So there's a destiny here for you to really engage your power correctly. And that's through response, right? Not just acting willy-nilly, but really being truly more strategic, if you will, or responsive, responding to what shows up in that outer world for you, J-Lo. And Jones in the 37 and the first line. So your soul's intent here with Mars is to take action to create peace. 37 is called the gate of peace. It's also called sometimes the gate of family. So family, interestingly enough here, and then being more authoritative in teaching self-love, or in your own need to find self-love in order to find peace within your family or within your tribe. helping others even to find self-love in order to be at peace in their other relationships with their communities, their tribes, their families, etc. I can see that there's something about that and what the work is that you've done and what you're attempting to do next here seems very much on point. Tina, can't wait to learn about your human design and you later this week. Yes, I've got it. Remember, I already know these things about you, Tina, and it's right here in your file next to me so that I have it ready for us on Friday. Okay, so let's go on. What time is it? 8:35. So let's go to the next thing that's happening this week. For one, we have a new moon later at the end of the week. So we'll talk about that on Friday because it is on Friday. And I may put out a post earlier before that day so that we have that information out there circulating. But what comes up next this week is the sun in Sagittarius squaring Saturn in Pisces. And this is where belief meets accountability. And this is Tuesday's tension point, if you will, because this will happen mañana. The sun in Sagittarius, remember, is about truth. And it's about belief systems. And it's about, and it's not just about like the little t truths. This is the bigger truths, right? Remember, the arrow of Sagittarius pointed at the galactic center, the heart and soul of our solar system. And our energy that comes and streams to us out of that galactic center, helping, with Sagittarius sitting there to align us with the capital T truths. And belief systems are a part of that, right? Because sometimes our belief systems are based on what we've grown up with or been conditioned to believe, especially if you have, a defined head and ajna, your beliefs are pretty static. And, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's how you were designed. But once in a while, you need to take a look at those beliefs and go, is this real for me? Is this really true for me? And of course, our moral vision also gets caught up in that, and we see a very polarized morality on the planet. And that's very interesting to watch play out in this particular time. And, the sun in Sagittarius is on the search for meaning. Sagittarius is the eternal quester, the eternal student, if you will. Looking for the answers requires time and energy. It's almost the sacred quest of Sagittarius to find meaning. And then it also brings up for each of us the story that we tell ourselves about why things matter. Like, why does it matter what's going on in your personal life? Why does it matter that I believe this? And once you ask those kinds of questions, you start to, look at, what's really underpinning those beliefs. And then again, Sagittarius wants freedom. It wants truth. It wants clarity. It has faith or wants faith. And the sun in Sagittarius is squaring Saturn in Pisces, the ruler of Capricorn. So we have this like theme going on this particular week. Saturn in Pisces, remember, has been asking us, do our beliefs hold up in reality? And are you avoiding responsibility behind some kind of spiritual language, right? Some kind of spiritual bypassing. And where are boundaries too weak? Or on the other side, where are they too strong? Where are they too rigid? And maybe boundaries are even non-existent, and that comes up as a part of this, what the questions are that Saturn in Pisces is asking of us. And the square creates friction, right? The square between the sun in Sag and Saturn in Pisces creates this friction between our ideals and our limitations. Like in an ideal world, we all are, working for each other and supporting one another and allowing freedom and equality and tolerance and acceptance. But in our real world, is that really happening? And I mean, it is in some ways, and in some people, if you are of a particular persuasion. But if you're not, are you accepted and tolerated? That's hard to see. And then, faith and consequence is another thing. Sagittarius brings us faith and Saturn brings us the consequences. And that's why I said we have free will, but with free will comes consequences, right? What is it that we to get one thing, we are letting go of something else perhaps. And is it a good, deal? Is it correct for you? Or are you doing it out of some false sense of authority, or somebody else's authority, which would be even worse? And we also have inspiration. Sagittarius is the, consummate learner, shooting for the stars. And then we have Saturn that brings those stars down to earth, right? That shows us the as below, the as above, so below part of that equation. And it would be not unbelievable for some of us to be feeling disillusionment with the world, with what we thought a new age was bringing us. I kind of briefly brought that up on Friday. Something that I'd been feeling for a while is that we have this whole new opportunity with Aquarian energy that right now seems very bastardized, right? That this AI mess and the quantity of people that are, not thinking about what the impacts are for the whole of the group or the whole of the country, the whole of the world, in their actions, that are seeking power rather than some kind of consensus. And that becomes disillusionment, right? Or can become disillusionment. We might have this pressure to grow up spiritually, right? To get real. And then tension between compassion, being compassionate, but also being accountable, allowing someone to be accountable for their own actions and for their own condition that they find themselves in. And then there's grief. Now, this is something that keeps coming up for me, in that grief over beliefs that no longer work, or grief over what you believed in that's being downtrodden, right? Or being worked over, so as it were. And what this is not a punishment so much. The square isn't a punishment. It's more a reality check. It's more about, okay, are you being real? Are you being, a part of the problem, or you being a part of the solution of what comes next, of, what's possible? And I said, we looked at the sun in the gate 12 this week, before he moves off into the gate 10. And what we see here, or sorry, the gate 11, not 12. And in the gate 11 is this conceptualist. Can we take ideas of a new world, of a new way of being, and create from it? Or does it just remain up here, the pie in the sky kind of ideas? So, the real question this week is going to be about what can we bring into real authority, real beingness, as we go on. And, if we pair that Sun square Saturn with Mars's move into Capricorn, we can't just believe our way through things, right? We can't just do that. One of the things, the downfalls, I think, of the early 2000s and the movement of the Secret, was that it really seemed to say that you could think your way in and out of situations, or, if you wanted it, if you believe it, you can achieve it kind of mentality. What that left out was Mars, the action principle. What are you willing to do to achieve it? What are you willing to do that aligns with your beliefs in order to get to where you want to go? So you have to act. You have to act with integrity. You can't just take any old action. It's acting with integrity. So if we want to integrate then these energies for this week, it's really asking us, if we put it all together, like we put all these different, storylines together, Mars in Capricorn is asking us for responsible action. Do the right thing, and do the right thing according to you and your integrity. Can you guys hear this? We're being rocked again. Gate 10. This is the gate that's at the heart of your humanness, your self-love. It asks you for authentic action. What's authentic for you? Saturn is asking for accountability in your action, accountable action. And Sagittarius for truthful action. So all of this is about being true, being real. And this week will expose, you'll see it maybe in the news cycle. I'm going to be watching for news stories around where authority is earned, where authority is grabbed for, taken without permission, where power's borrowed. I'll just borrow that oil from Venezuela. Where responsibility has been avoided, whether that's personally or in a group or community that you're a part of. And where does integrity quietly live within you? Where is that? And are you aligned with it? And the real question isn't about who's in charge. The real question is who is willing to stand behind their choices and to live with them, be accountable for them, and accountable to first yourself, but then also to others that are impacted by those decisions. So you may want to sit with this question over the next few days. Does this action bring me closer to myself or further away? Does this action bring me closer to myself, or does it make it that I'm further away from my true self? Because integrity isn't loud. It doesn't stand on a mountaintop and say, oh, how beautiful I am. Oh, how good I am. Oh, how great I am. It just doesn't do that. It doesn't announce itself. And it doesn't need validation. It's not acting from a place of, oh, validate me, right? Make me feel good about me. Integrity shows up in what you're willing to do when no one is watching. What are you willing to do for yourself, for you, that is beneficial for others as well? And what are you willing to do that you're refusing to do right now? What is it that you're holding back from yourself? And when is it easier to be truly you versus being something that you're not, right? Because there's a cost, there's a price to pay for all of that, right? There's a price to pay when you're doing things out of mistaken authority. And it comes from, and it hits you at your integrity, right? When you're not being true to yourself. Okay. Natasha, good morning. My dog was off last night and I had a dream of a couple taking control of others slowly. Some were taken for years and not themselves. I had some freedom, which I walked my old neighborhood. I got help. Interesting dream in light of all of this energy that's coming up right now, Natasha. Tina, living in alignment with values. Yeah, living in alignment with values. And, so many times I think about, and we're not a perfect people, right? People, and this isn't me saying that you all have to go out and live perfectly because we're learning, right? We're here to learn still as well. But I think about things like the U.S. Constitution. It was and the Declaration of Independence, all these things, right? These were documents. These people wrote and put it in stone. It's lasted 230 some years here, 248 years, almost 250. And those were values, right? They put into writing values, the values that would define the USA. And other countries, you have constitutions or you have articles of confederation or whatever it is that your documents, they hold your truths to be self-evident, right? That these are the things 1 through 25 or 1 through 100, whatever it is, that were the values, the stated values of the nation as it was being built. And we've done our level best to uphold those values. Now, those values over time, at least here in the USA, and you guys in other countries would have to, chime in and let us know, how is it going in your countries? We've forgotten some of those things, right? About being equal. And we weren't perfect at it in the beginning anyway, right? We weren't perfect at it. We still had slavery when the country was established. And yet we've done our level best to stay clear about those values and to work toward the integrity brought to us in those values. But it seems like around the world, the concept of values has been slipping and moving backwards. Like, it's okay to just trash the Constitution. It's just okay to trash that particular article because, it doesn't fit my need for power or authority right now. And that's a dangerous, slippery slope, if you ask me, right? Because you let go of one, what happens next? Are you willing to let go of the next one and the next one after that? And who is going to stop that slide backward? It can only be you and me as we stand up individually to say, no, that is not what we value, right? That is not what we value. And it's been interesting. My husband and I are facing retirement. And one of the things that I've been looking at is what happens with our medical insurance once he actually retires, because his work supplies the insurance. So then we'd both have to go on Medicare. And there's this big discussion in the country that, USA right now, about healthcare and health insurance. And, it is so confusing. I absolutely do not understand Medicare at all, right? There's so many choices, so many things, that little traps that you can get yourself caught up in. And of course, it's the older people in the country that are getting into Medicare that is likely not going to help them at all. And it's really sad to see this. And now we're looking at the debasement of insurance coverage for the working class people as well, right? You take away those benefits. Now you have a country, a workforce that's sick, that doesn't have coverage. You guys can see my straps. They came loose. Damn it. I'm going to have to go outside and strap that down in the window over there. You can see it flying around. And it worries me. It really worries me, because one of our values as a people is about taking care of our people. And we're about to make decisions and choices that aren't in alignment with that. And is that conscionable? And are we empowered to do anything about it? It's hard. It's a hard one to kind of work through. And all of us then, on a week like this, have this opportunity to move into what is truly, truly our value, our integrity, and using our voice and our resources in a way that supports that, whether you're in alignment with what I'm saying right now or not, right? I would tell someone who is completely opposite from me in ideology to live your truth, but make sure your truth is in alignment with your higher self, and you're not just adopting beliefs that don't really matter or that aren't your own, right? Because that's the thing. We all have these choices to make. And I would urge everybody to, do some soul searching during this particular week, because it's a good time to do that. With the gate of self-love, are you being the most loving person to you? Right? Or are you being something that you don't want to be to make somebody else happy? That's called people pleasing, right? My Libras out there, you're familiar with people pleasing and doing things just because that's not what this week is about. It's not what this energy is about. So Garnet McCleary Price, hello from the UK. She says she is a Capricorn, and it's wonderful to have you with us. Teddy, 9 minutes ago, a 3.3. Did you feel it? You're closer. I did feel the one earlier. I didn't know there was another one. Maybe the wind blowing is hiding that from me. Maybe that's what's disconcerting me. Good morning, Jana. It's good to have you with us. I am safe from flooding. It's impacting me because we can't always get where we want to go. But I am safe, warm, and dry at this moment in time. And Tina, there's a consequence for this. Everyone pays the price for all the choices being made. Absolutely. And they have far-reaching consequences too. Not just today's choice that some, person in office makes. It is a far-reaching consequence. It reaches out to our children and our grandchildren, our children's children's children, right? We're not talking just for this moment, how those decisions impact us. It's in the long run. And people need to wake up and smell the coffee, for God's sakes, right? You are either abdicating your responsibility by just allowing things to go on as they have been, or you're in simple ignorance, right? Ignorance, because you don't even know, you don't even think to question. And then there are those of us who are questioning, who are realigning and transforming, will be the ones that the responsibility lies in helping wake up others. And that's kind of what we do, right? I come on here in the mornings and I talk about these things so that hopefully somewhere someone wakes up, right? Somewhere someone says, whoa, what have I been doing? Where have I been? Where did I go wrong for myself and for my community, my family? And then, they have the opportunity to course correct. We all have the opportunity to course correct. And the consequences, that's part of having free will. We have free will. Therefore, there are consequences, right? I could go out and rob a bank because I need money, or I, want to do that. But there are consequences to that, right? If you get caught, you're going to jail. If you get caught, your life is, on a whole different trajectory. But I had free will in the beginning, and I still had free will when I choose to do that. And yet the consequences are there as well. So that's the other thing, right? We are not just free will and free for all, but that's what it kind of feels like right now, that people are just seemingly free to do whatever it is they want to do out there, to say things that are stupid, to say things that are hurtful and harmful, to do things that are hurtful and harmful and have long-reaching consequences that they're not seeing the consequences of yet. The karma hasn't hit them yet. But it will, right? That's the thing. It always comes back around. So this week, remember, be in integrity, be true to you. Ask yourself those hard questions. Am I aligned with my true self? Are my values, the things that I say out loud, that I profess to believe in, that I profess to be supportive of, are they aligned with the actions, or are my actions aligned with that particular thing? So it's a good week. Later in the week, of course, we'll talk about the new moon, which the new moon will be in Sagittarius, just at the end of Sagittarius. It is the moon conjunct Venus at that moment, squaring Saturn, conjunct the sun, obviously, and also squaring Neptune. So it could be a pretty powerful portal. Say that 10 times, powerful portal of energy that we go through at that new moon, which is then followed the next day by the sun squaring Neptune as well. Although if the moon is squaring Neptune, so is the sun at the new moon. So 19th and 20th, we'll be talking about that, followed by Sunday's movement of the sun into Capricorn, i.e. the winter solstice. And that's what we'll be taking up on the Friday show. What can we, look at the chart of the winter solstice and see what's lining up for us for the next season. All right, that's it for me this morning. Thank you all for joining me. Oh, we could do a card. I have time. Let's see here. I'm going to reach down. Ooh, what's that one? Nope, I don't want that one. Okay. I pulled out this deck, Angel Guide. This is by Kyle Gray. And Kyle Gray, these cards are really bright and beautiful. So maybe an angel can guide us on this week and give us some clarity. Oh, yes, there she is. I love this. Ask and receive. This is the angel. Ask and receive. So let me get that up here and see what angel we are dealing with. So here's the card. It's beautiful. And ask and you shall receive. Your angel guide wants you to know that help is available. You are being encouraged to shift your perceptions and recognize that even in the most difficult of circumstances, a miracle is possible. Whatever miracle you need, it is available to you right now. This almost makes me want to cry, you guys. Your angel guide is encouraging you to recognize that you may have been blocking support by saying no to the things you wanted to say yes to, and asking you to change that now. When you begin to say yes to the experiences that light you up, you usher increased levels of support into your life. You may feel that your prayers aren't being heard, but this isn't true. Angels have heard you and are suggesting you take time to assess where in your work or relationships you may be creating barriers to success. When you are open to seeing and doing things differently, you will experience the answers and miracles you need. You are being encouraged to pray from a space of gratitude now. When you focus on what you are grateful for, you align your energy with the miraculous. Heaven is encouraging you to welcome support in all areas of your life. Wow, that's a perfect card to leave for us this morning and for us to look forward to for the week. All right, everybody, thank you so much. Take care. See you on Friday. Bye for now.